Welcome to another big edition of the RDFNL Senior Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at Ontime Delivery Solutions. My name's Yeendy. I'm joined by Tara Murray. It is grand final week, and we've got three big games of footy on the weekend, which is going to be exceptional.
It is, and all three of them could go either way. You've probably got a standout in each of them who have been throughout the season, but then you've got the other sides who have shown come finals time they can stand up, they can get the job done. And look, a couple of the sides that finished second in both the reserves and the 19s upset the minor premiers in the first round. So, Wallan finished third and upset the minor premiers in the reserves. So you've got sides who have come up and got those upsets in the finals, and then now you've got the other sides who are looking to get back to them and trying to take those premierships.
Let's start from the ground up. The big game at 9:30, which of course, thanks to our friends at Gav and Paul for leading this one. Highlands FM will be broadcasting the day, which is fantastic. So wherever you go, you'll be able to listen to the game as we talk up Rupertswood and Wallan. As we highlighted, we saw this game last year, and Wallan played some amazing football to win pretty comfortably and confidently. Can they do it again on a big ground that we've got at Clark Oval?
Well, that's going to be interesting. Obviously, these two sides have played each other twice in recent weeks. They played each other in the final round of the season. Magpies got a big win. First final, you have Rupertswood got a big win. So you've had a little bit of a mixture there. The one time they did play during the season, they ended up splitting the points because that was the day Liam Birch ended up collapsing. And look, we got a good ending out of that one. So in the end, there was no result from that match. And you look at that there. So they've been pretty even. The last couple of years, they've been pretty even. And we've seen a lot of this young talent, not only in the 19 level, it's also progressed through to the senior level. So they've been the two dominant sides for the last couple of years. Rupertswood a sixth straight grand final, as we said earlier in the week. So it'll be interesting. I think Wallan will be wanting to get one back over Rupertswood after losing that first final. They would have liked to have gone through the easy way for the finals. They've had to come through the hard way, but it means they've played every single week, and they've got that consistency and form going into the grand final.
I do feel on paper with Wallan's form and their playing list, they've probably got a lot more mature players and more experienced players in that upper echelon of the age group itself, whereas Rupertswood, I think they've still got a good young list, but a lot of the guys that play for Wallan, I'm happy to be corrected on this one, but I think Wallan had a lot of players that played in the grand final last year, and a lot of them there's been a handful of tasted a little bit of senior football. But you know what, the big addition that might actually fall in the Sharks' hands is that we don't know at this point in time, but Jake Sutton might get the opportunity to drop back down into the grand final, which is going to be, that'll be a fantastic asset for the Sharks to have.
And you mentioned Jake. He took out the under-19 league best and fairest, so he missed. I think it was the last six games or something like that, playing seniors as well. So I think it was a little bit of the story as well that I think the guy who finished second from Wallan also missed several games playing seniors. So Tommy
Knight and one of the other guys in there that escapes me at the moment.
Yeah, you had a few that missed games because they were playing senior football, so they've dropped back. If they can get those guys into, adds a little bit more experience into side. Even I think Jake Sutton's still eligible for under 17s.
Yeah.
He's got that senior experience and he was performing on that higher level, so he brings that back to him. I think both of these sides, played a lot of juniors in their top side, so there is a lot of experience for both of those sides dropping back.
How do you see this one unfolding?
Look, I think Wallan, even though they did lose that first final, I think we'll still go in favourites.
I think it was a bit of a shock when I was there that morning when it happened, and Rupertswood just went bang. I think they kicked 2 or 3 goals really quickly, and there was just like this gasp around the ground, and people were like, what's happening here? This is no disrespect to Rupertswood, but it was kind of they just burst out of the blocks, and it was just wow, finals has arrived, and that's happened.
And look, and that's probably the key to the match. If whoever gets off to that better start probably set up the win. Obviously, we had the Sharks on that day. The occasion before that was the Magpies. The Sharks can get off to that fast start. I think they'll be hard to stop. We've seen what they can do when they're in grand final. They've absolutely smashed sides in grand final. So if they get on top early, big danger signs for Wallan. But I think it'll be a lot closer than that first final as well.
Your tip for this one?
I'm going to tip Wallan.
Yep, I'm going to tip with Wallan on that one as well. And for I think the key player to stand out is one of my favourites on the footy field. And I know he and I have had a good rivalry over the journey, but Tommy in the number 43 Guernsey there for Wallan. He is a great forward. He gets in the middle. He's like a bull. He loves a good contest, and I think he will be the difference maker for the Pies to get up. As we talk up a reserves grand final action, and we've got Wallan taking on Diggers Rest. So this is going to be an interesting contest. Wallan have had the week off, and here they are, ready to go.
And you've got Diggers Rest, who were the minor premiers. So they did lose in that semi-final to Wallan, so they've had to come the hard way through. And, well, obviously in the prelim final, Diggers Rest had a solid last quarter. They kicked 4 goals to none over Rupertswood to get through to the grand final. And you look, that whole playing list, that whole open age playing list for Diggers Rest is still available this week. So there's a lot of fight for spots. So there's no taking it easy. There's no looking at, okay, yep, we want that spot, we want that spot. Whether there's a couple of guys that might come out of the senior side, there's a little couple of injury concerns which may affect the reserves. But I think with their senior side just about at full strength now, there's probably reserves is nearly at full strength as well. So it'll be quite an interesting one there. You've got Wallan, who were runners-up last year, and you've got Diggers Rest, who won it the year before that. So you've got two sides who have been on the big stage at this time of year in the reserves competition.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I think the key thing for the Boroughs is what happens in their forward line. If McKilty, who kicked, was it 5 or 6 last weekend, so if he stays in the team, we know, we can all recall what happened with the grand final a couple of years ago at senior level, where he kicked the match-winning goal, so to speak, and he was sort of the hero and the villain in the same afternoon. But if he plays in the reserves, he kicks another bag. I just think with Joey Piccolo at his feet, I think they're going to be very hard to beat.
Look, I think they're going to be hard to beat too. And we speak about those sides losing a shock final like that. I think that would have really hurt the Boroughs, where their reserves have come through the hard way. Their seniors were the favourite. Sorry, their reserves were the favourites. Their seniors have come through the hard way. I think the reserves will probably get the win.
Yeah, I don't know enough about Wallan's reserves list off the bat, but what we can highlight is that the only stumbling block the Diggers Rest have had all year is Wallan. So, and they've done it twice. So,
whether there's a mental side of that?
Yeah. That's sort of, without Wallan having some of the big standout stars, at the end of the day, they seem to match up well. And look, Diggers Rest will be going for third time's a charm, but Wallan will be hoping that they continue that run.
Exactly, and they'll be hoping to make it 2 premierships within the space of 2 matches.
Absolutely right. That'll be a cracker. But of course, Wallan did go down in the grand final last year, so looking to make amends for that. As we talk up the big senior game, the big blockbuster, we've got the Bombers and the Boroughs for, I'm losing track now. It's 5 or 6 times in the last sort of 13 or 14 years since I know I've been around RDFNL senior football, and geez, if we got a game like 2016, look out, this one is going to be a cracker. That's
what I'm hoping for. I think most people in the crowd will be hoping for a grand final, except if you support the Boroughs or the Bombers. You'll want a little bit bigger gap than that. But if we can get a cracker like that, we'd be in for a brilliant day. As for those who don't know, it was a tie at the end of regular time last time, so they had to play extra time before the Boroughs got across the line. So you had, obviously you mentioned Mick Kilty, Jace Williams did a little bit as well. I think he kicked the final goal. And you had and took that classic mark as well. I think we've seen plenty of pictures
Tommy
of that
Gleeson,
one.
The heroic effort to play to the tune of the Titanic.
Exactly, and it was a brilliant game. If we can get that again, I think this time we'll go in. Riddell will be red hot favourites. Last time Diggers Rest were favourites. This time will be Riddell. Riddell hasn't lost a game since round 3. Has absolutely dominated everyone they've played against. They played Diggers Rest in the semi-finals, beat them there, and that was Diggers Rest's biggest loss of the year. I think it was only 24 points, so not a massive loss by any means, but it was still the Boroughs' biggest loss of the year. And saying that, the Boroughs have beaten the Bombers. Not many teams can say that, but they beat them back in round 3. They were the last team to get across the line.
Yeah, will they do it again is the multi-million-dollar question. I mean, people are going to be drawing comparisons, and fair enough, between 2016 and 2018, but I mean, with Riddell's lineup now, they're going for 16 wins in a row. Look, and the Boroughs, I mean, they're a quality side, but it's really hard to tip against Riddell.
Look, I think it's a very different grand final 2016. You've got your in 2016, the Bombers came from nowhere, sort of surprised a lot of people. Did. A very young
team. Like Romsey did in 2015, I think.
Exactly. They're still a very young team, the Bombers, but they've got a little bit more experience. You've got a lot of these guys who have got 2-3 years in the system now, and they're really showing as that group. They've got a lot of depth, as we saw. Their 19s made a prelim final. The reserves are in finals as well, so there is a lot of depth across the board there, where you've got the Boroughs, who they have started to bring a little bit more youth in, but we're still seeing a lot of your experienced heads, your class as well, and we've seen that come finals time. Obviously, Taylor Hines being their best player across the finals. You've got Matthew Metcalf, who has come in this year, who I reckon could quite possibly have a day out. He does love...
He's had a good final series.
He has had a good final series, and he does love Clark Oval as well. So
he knows that better than anyone in the comp.
He does, and that's what you look. If he can get on fire, I've seen him kick bags of 4 or 5 at that ground that he can absolutely dominate. So that it's very different to 2016. But saying that, you've still got the Boroughs as probably the more experienced side of the two. But your Bombers come into it as red hot favourites.
Yeah, and I think Riddell played only once or twice over at Clark Oval over the journey, so they haven't had the experience there before. So I don't know how that'll play into their hands, but I think it'll be incredible, particularly up forward. Nolan's going to have a day out, is he? Or how they're going to use Tom Gleeson? There's plenty of question marks around this one.
Well, you look, Riddell did play there the first week of the finals and had a quite convincing.
Or was it a 22-point win?
No, sorry, they didn't play the first week. They played at Romsey, sorry, yep. But I know they did beat Romsey last year at Clark Oval, so they have played there as well. Burrows have had a little bit of a mixed.
They went down to the prelim last year.
And I think they lost a semi there as well. So they have had mixed results at Clark Oval. You look, it's the side who can run the most because you've got a bigger ground. Saying that Romsey Park is a big ground, Clark Oval's even a little bit bigger. So if you've got the sides that can run, get that open space on the wings, and get the ball going, that's a key for this game.
Your tip for this one?
I'm going to stick with Riddell.
And who will be the Doug McIntyre medalist for best on ground?
Dylan Tarkson.
Oh, Taco! I mean, his ego's pretty pumped up as it is. So look out. So I'm gonna. As many know, I reside in Diggers Rest, and I love the club dearly, and all the great work that Carol Gleeson and the team do over there. But I will tip Riddell, and my mate Hayden Ross will have a day out. He'll get 5 goals on the board and win the game. So there you go, H. You better get the job done there. It is shaping up to be a fantastic finale, and of course. With our support from Ontime Delivery Solutions, it's always exciting. But as we have discussed, Tara, off air, is that we will we'll meet again next week, and we will discuss and wrap up how the grand finals are gone. So again, I get to say thanks for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks for having me.